Virgin? We work with what we have.
Hi, I'm Rose at 3Digitalis and I just watched the Drew Goddard Joss Whedon black comedy horror The Cabin in the Woods. The Cabin in the Woods is a personal favorite of mine and I included in my Evil Dead series starting with Sam Raimi's test film Within the Woods.
Okay, but you're missing out on a good time. Come on. Well, come here to have fun, and all she wants to do is play Monopoly. Don't worry about it.
The 2003 Evil Dead off-Broadway musical.
I can't believe you let him walk out on you like that, scot-free.
Shut up, Cheryl!
And where's he rushing to? Guess he's got to go.
Shut up!
Scott sure made like a tree and left.
Oh, God, stop it.
And the new Ash vs. the Evil Dead series.
This is gonna hurt. One more for Papa.
This film is overflowing with satirical and on-the-nose Easter eggs and parodies covering a century of horror ranging from Lovecraft to American folklore. Domestic terror groups. To movie monsters from the dawn of cinema to today. The Cabin in the Woods examines the horror movie tropes in a real-time, real-world setting similar to a reality show. Spoilers in 3, 2, 1. The protagonists are convinced by subliminal and mildly overt messages to go to a cabin owned by Kurt's cousin for a weekend away from school. The group consists of Kurt, a sociology student on a full academic scholarship, Jules, his longtime girlfriend who is studying pre-med, Dana, Jules' roommate who was having an affair with one of her teachers, Holden, a friend of Kurt's who recently transferred to the school, and Marty, a 420 enthusiast who briefly dated Jules and his friends with her and Kurt. Alternately, we follow two organization employees, Gary and Steve, who operate the control room of the facility, a massive underground complex built below the cabin. Through them, and their interactions with Daniel Truman and Wendy Lim, we learn the organization predates and often supersedes most modern governmental authority and has carte blanche clearance to engage in any activity that secures their mission, saving the world. Through them and Mordecai.
Their blind eyes see nothing of the horrors to come. Their ears are stopped.
They are the gods' fools.
Well, that's how it works.
Cleanse them. Cleanse the world of their ignorance and sin. Bathe them in the crimson of... Am I on speakerphone?
We learn that the 5 students are intended to be killed by a randomly selected monster and that the entire plan hinges on each year's sacrifice going on to the altar of the Ancient Ones by choice. It's explained that while the organization may hedge the bets in their favor, there's always a risk of failure. To work around this, the organization operates multiple altars around the world, including Japan. Madrid, and Buenos Aires. Through Steve and Gary we learn that the only station that has never had a failure is Japan. The European and South American stations are absolute emergency backups not to be depended on, and that the US facility has come in second to Japan consistently. Except for 1998 when they didn't get any potential sacrifices, but that Japan saved the day. In 1998, almost every American horror movie was either part of a franchise sequel, a remake, or simply flew under the radar. Whereas in Japan, let's call them lambs, arrive at the lakeside cabin, and we see one of the first big Easter eggs of the movie. Saying the cabin is similar to the one from the Evil Dead franchise is a bit of an understatement.
I mean it.
This act also has one of the few parts of the movie I truly don't like. That one shot spoils a major scene later in the movie. Yes, the acting is fine, the dialogue is powerful, the premise is interesting, but how much better would this have been?
Look, you guys, you stay in the Rambler. I'll get help. If I wipe out, I'll fucking limp for help. But I'm coming back here. I'm coming back with cops and choppers and large fucking guns, and those things are gonna pay. For Jules.
If we hadn't seen this. While the lambs are settling in the Stephen Garrier setting up and betting pool of which monster will be summoned. List includes the merman, unicorn, vampires, several breeds of zombies. There are different breeds. And Kevin.
Somehow the bastard is still alive, still staring at me. Not even when I grab the saw and finish the job. He never screams.
Oh, Kevin. Throughout the course of the afternoon, the lamb's behavior is modified via chemical and environmental controls. The only one who seems unaffected is Marty, insisting that he hears voices and that everyone, particularly Kurt and Jules, are acting out of character. A trap door open and the group, led by Kurt, go and investigate, finding a collection of relics, each linked to a specific monster in the facility.
Maybe we should go back upstairs.
Each of the lambs is drawn to a different relic, but one begins reading aloud from an old book.
Klaatu, Barata.
No. I'll try to review you next week.
Groovy.
He's the reason we can't have nice things.
Do not read the Latin.
This summons the Buckners, or the...
It's a zombie redneck torture family.
It's at this point that the horror portion of the comedy noir truly begins. Kurt and Jules go outside. 2. Have grown-up time. And are attacked by the Buckners. Kurt and Jules are overpowered and Jules is killed. Here we see the transition sacrifice along with Gary's indignation.
This we offer in humility and fear, for the blessed peace of your eternal slumber, as it ever was.
As it ever was.
Marty is still hearing the facility's subliminal messaging and, thinking it's Mary Jane-related paranoia, decides to go get some fresh air. Once he's outside, he realizes,
I thought there'd be stars. We are abandoned.
Kurt returns and the remaining lambs begin locking down the cabin. Kurt insists they stay together to protect each other. Gary and Steve release a gas that makes Kurt change his mind and say,
This isn't right.
What? What's the matter?
This isn't right. We should split up.
Yeah. Yeah, good idea.
Really?
At this point, the narrative takes on a rope-heavy storyline. The lambs scatter to their individual rooms, locking themselves in. Marty knocks over a lamp, finds a camera, and understands he's
on a reality TV show.
Judah Buckner of the zombie redneck Buckners attacks him, dragging him into their family mass grave. Dana and Holden find root cellar to hide in and are rescued by Kurt, who drags them into their RV. We get the first hint that something has gone wrong. During Marty's sacrifice, there is a small tremor, and the demolition team reveals that they never got the order to destroy the tunnel, as if someone or something is trying to end the sacrifice. Steve manages to blow up the tunnel and we're back to where we began. Here's where the Easter eggs really take off. Bear with me, it's gonna be a ride. Holden and Dane are attacked in the Winnebago, just like when Jason. Dana is attacked on the dock, because Friday the 13th, but is rescued by Marty, who reveals he was able to kill Jude with a trowel, just like Ken. In the trip through the shuffling cube-shaped elevators, like in the movie. And humanoid werewolf like in Monster Squad.
Do it! Do it! Wolfman's got nards!
A ghost that transitions into vapor or smoke. Fornicus, Lord of Bondage and Pain.
The box. You opened it. We came.
Giant spiders. Evil immortal clowns.
Very wise of your dad, Georgie. Very wise indeed. I, Georgie, am Pennywise, the dancing clown. You are Georgie. So now we know each other. Correct?
Adorable twin girls.
Hello, Danny. Come and play with us.
Kittens. The Blob. A transition from CCTV to reality. It may not have been horror, but it caused a few existential crises. And Judah's Roman hand.
Who's laughing now?
Right here we run into my second personal issue with the movie. The giant red end the world button. It's a little too ridiculous and makes me think of.
But Jolly can be like Button. Will he hold out, folks? Can he hold out? No, I can't!
Basilisks. Dismember goblins. Strangers. Killer machines. Giant bats and aliens and unicorns. Any list gets tedious after a while. Merman.
No!
Kraken. That was a surprise. I honestly didn't notice until just now that wasn't the basilisk, and of course the elder god rising from its tomb to bring death and madness.
Dude! Over here! Hey, continue! Stop!
I think that's all the monster Easter eggs I could find and positively identify, or at least associate with another movie or genre. This was Drew Goddard's directorial debut, and he came out of the gate strong. The dialogue, the set pieces, the lighting, the just about everything I saw in the movie was awesome. I've enjoyed this movie every time I've seen it and highly recommend it for any fan of horror movies. It's well paced and despite being almost completely made of homages, doesn't beat you over the head with them. Offering you something for a split second or, in the case of the Kraken, not at all even after multiple viewings. I'd love to see Richard Jenkins and Bradley Whitford work together on another project. Their chemistry felt sincere and honest. From the first time you see them on screen you get a sense of long-time colleagues who genuinely like and respect each other. The Lambs, Kristen Connolly, Chris Hemsworth, Anna Hutchison, Frank Kranz and Jesse Williams transition from normal everyday people into horror movie stereotypes smoothly. And the surprise supporting role of Sigourney Weaver as the director was the icing on the cake. This one gets a 7 out of 10 for originality and for keeping me entertained for all these years. If it wasn't for the force field foreshadowing and the master purge button, I'd take it up to 8 without a question. Thanks for watching. This was Rose at 3Digitalis wishing you a happy Halloween. Please like, share, and subscribe.
This isn't right.
You hide in the abandoned amusement park, you the pet cemetery, spooky roller disco, and I'll go skinny dipping in that lake where the sexy teens were killed 100 years ago tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, good idea.
Okay, guys, that's it. Let's go. We got a job to do. Your basic human needs disgust me. Get out of here. Do we have temper?